Hello, this is Slavik again, and today we will be talking about team and work management, how it can be handled in Easy Red Mind. So let's have a look on that. So today we will learn why task is really the ideal instrument to communicate formally about the work in your organization. We will show each other a practical use cases about how different work streams, different demands can be organized. We will use a couple examples, simple work management and something more complex. Some specific features needs to be used. So it's important to say that this agenda is very natural to us because adaptive project management tools are typically used to organize the work as well. The work needs to be aligned with projects and other demands in the company in order to secure the people's work. So let's get started. To warm up our today's session a little, let's talk about some conversations we would like to avoid in our organization. So let's imagine we have a illustrative person Shrek, and Shrek is part of these discussions we would like to avoid in our company. Now I will leave you with these examples, and hopefully you agree with me that we really would like to avoid them. And what is more important, that today's session will give you answer about how to do so. Well, and the general answer is to get the work well organized. So let's see, let's have a look on that. At Easy Software, we strongly believe that task, ticket, issue, whatever you call it, is an ideal instrument for any type of work or demand which needs to be organized and aligned with the other initiatives in the organization. And there are good reasons for that. So let's have a closer look on this. First, task, unlike some other tools, have always one assignee. The assignee may change during the work on certain activities, certain tasks, but there is a one person who shall work on that. Additionally, if we organize the teams, we may use the functionalities of tasks to organize the inbound and decide who does what and being informed about the each other's work. Due date, very important. That needs to be always done where something needs to be done. I don't think it deserves some further comments. And what is very important, tasks, unlike the other tools, may have some workflow which is defining the next step and helping to drive the process. We understand the progress, the status, and the priority of the task so we can manage our team and personal agenda accordingly. In the ideal situation, I have also knowledge base contextually available to what I am doing right now, hence I am guided. So knowledge base is an important aspect about the work harmonization. That's the key things, but there is a lot more. The tasks help us to organize and proceed with the work with various of functionalities, which is avoiding mismatch of document versioning, understand who does what, looking back on different root causes, and so on and so forth. I will not read the list, and I would rather add that there are more functionalities which you cannot find in more static tools. Like I can further plan the work, split it, engage people, and make the work organized. And once we use Easy8 to organize the work, we can see huge benefits out of that. First of all, unlike email communication, chats, and meeting notes, this is data. The data about who does what, when, how much time was spent on that. That all leads to that I am getting better visibility into what different individuals and teams do. It brings accountability for the work. Some work streams needs to be measured, so I can set KPIs because I understand volumes and I can understand the quality too. And by the way, we believe that in nowadays tracking work, even logging time, is new standard for especially hybrid and remote workers, because simply how else I can manage them. And all these measurements means that your organization, your team can be on top of it and actually measure it, because if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Let me support what I just said with some visuals. So sharing with you a first visual showing how personal homepage in project and work management tool looks like. So a typical worker may easily understand what is the delays, what is the backlog, what are the priorities, and so on and so forth. The worker may also understand the history, what is actually my time management in terms of what I'm spending time of, discussing with my managers, and work on the agenda. I understand my log time, I understand my timesheets, and so it is easy to get better visibility into the personal work, for example, for remote workers. That same is also about the teams. The teams typically cooperate on delivering some agendas, so I can measure the agenda. Here's some very simple example. I can use different tools I know from project management, like Kanban board, if I like so, and getting data, getting understanding about how the work is really done and what's the team priorities as well. Okay, theory is finished. Let's see some examples. In the very first example, I will show you how operations and human resources can be organized. We will go through different agendas. We'll go through recruitment, onboarding, and also employee leaving. So let's get started. Let's have a look on recruitment. So let's get started. What I see on the screen is a project dashboard. Let's mention that the project serves typically as a folder for tasks of specific work stream. The work stream here is manage the positions, manage the candidates, and go through the interviews and so on and so forth in the recruitment. So top menu of a project with my features, and here important dashboard. Right panel as typical on all projects in Easy8 mine, and very important, there is a multi-tabs on the dashboard, because on the dashboard of a project I am managing the important information and I'm managing the flow of the work stream. So how do I do so? First, I see the key KPIs. In my case, I see how many positions are open, how many I have active candidates, and results of my work. What is really cool feature is availability of knowledge base information. In our case, it is guiding us how to manage the work inside of tasks. And last but not least, here I see my inbound. In my case, inbound is new candidates who send me CVs to my email address dedicated for that. It goes from my advertisement, and I'm using helpdesk functionality to get this inbound into my process. The process itself is managed on tasks. I can see that I have the position as a parent task. On that, I cooperate with the position owners to define the role, define the conditions for candidate, etc. And then after I have subtasks for that, which each represent one candidate. There can be more information in the knowledge base, but I will skip that for now because we can have a look on knowledge base in separate demo. More importantly, when I do the cooperation with my colleagues, I use task functionality on that. Typically, the task may be assigned to some junior HR worker who is assessing the CVs, making the intake, maybe responding to unappropriate candidates, and so on and so forth, passing it to the position leaders or more senior HR persons. It depends on my process. Important is that I have everything on one place. I have the CV on the place. I have the comments of everyone who visited this task, and so I have the information. I don't have to ask again and whatsoever. So, okay, I finished one job. I hired new colleague, and the second job is coming to place, and it is onboarding new colleague. For that, we recommend using Easy8 project template, because this project template contains formal steps, but also the wisdom which needs to be transferred to this new colleague for subject matter onboarding. It is important that to use milestones here, or it is recommended, because in the onboarding it's important to have the checks to understand that the candidate is progressing well, that he is meeting the expected quality of work and talents, and so on and so forth. And at the end, I have everything in place to say whether this candidate shall continue with our company or is failing in his onboarding. Once the colleague is leaving, I can also use the project template. In some cases, maybe just task template with checklists is enough, just to know that all formal steps were done, that the person has no more access to my internal systems, and so on and so forth. It needs to be organized. So let's summarize what we've seen around human resources examples. We saw using Easy8 tasks to collaborate between different departments on definition of the role. We see the collaboration on the candidate's task. We see how the helpdesk feature may support it, and how having everything, all the history, all the documents with all the versions on one place can drive the operations further. We saw using project templates for onboarding, typically with milestones. And this needs to be taken as just an example. I used human resources because it is a process, it's job to be done in basically all organizations. And we see similar usage and using similar features for any type of requests, demand, some inbounds coming to different teams, representing different agendas. Per project works as a folder and a reporting structure for the initiatives which is happening under that. And you can see on this slide there are many examples which we know from the practice that are used for that. And this is not complete list. Basically, any team in organization may use something like that to organize the demand coming to them. And naturally, the persons can organize their work agenda. Last example on this slide is sales, and it is typical case where we hear the discussions that maybe sales don't need that because they have their CRM. So that's why I selected sales team as a second use case. The thing with sales is that they have their CRM in which typically all their work is managed, the KPIs are set, and so on and so forth. And so we sometimes hear from clients why they need licenses for work management for sales team because they have their CRM. Now, the answer is simple. It is that sales is not an isolated island, and they need to cooperate with the rest of the company. So let's dig into that a little bit. Typically, sales has many demands. The demands originate sales because the client needs so. So, just a couple examples. They may need to open tickets on behalf of the clients. They work as natural escalation point for the clients. And they have their internal need as well. They need to contract with clients. They maybe report feature requests, bugs. They need approvals for documents and contracts. They need pre-sales to help them with business and so on and so forth. They are actually asking for project deliveries. So there in the middle we have a very simple example how different demands can be easy to initiate from just the left hand menu. The thing is that we don't need sales only to initiate the work with other teams, but they also benefit from it. So if they can deliver what they need or initiate the demand which they need easily, guided, and with few clicks, they are saving their time. They don't need to find out who is doing what or what is the status, whether something they asked happened or not is always available for them in the work management tool. Additionally, if they have information about the ongoing issues, they may have more successful sales initiatives because they know the status and they are becoming true partner and internal ambassador for the client, not just someone who sends them the quotes. So that was sales as part of the company. Now, one of the requirements sales may initiate is software changes, some customization for client. At the end, we are in software company use case. So let's have a look on that. So again, we see a dashboard. In our case, this is a global dashboard with some tabs. The tabs are taking us through different steps in the process. Typically approval, then that comes backlog, then delivery. Now we are looking at the assessment where typically the business stakeholders and the engineers are meeting and making decisions about what shall be proposed to the client and estimating the job. There are KPIs available, and so we understand where we are with the process. That takes me one step back to the theory. There are best practice how to handle certain demands where expert stakeholders needs to engage. The whole idea is rather simple. We would like to allow basically anyone to initiate. So the collection or ideation phase shall be open to maximum of stakeholders. In this case, that were all the clients who can do the request. It shall be easy to do. In terms of ideas, there shall be culture that no idea is bad idea, and so on. Important is that in intake, we look at the request on the demand, and in our case, we are actually assessing that with some business rules, saying that we deliver this kind of job, which means software modification, under the certain rules. If it is some ideation, for example, for software modifications, we shall assess alignment with the product strategy or the purpose of the whole demand. And we would like to have a limited number of people being busy with this, and ideally in the last phase where we are prioritizing approved taken demands, there is only the subject matter experts are overseeing the needed resources, etc. That whole is helping us to be efficient in the whole demand management process, meeting what we see very frequently, that here comes in place some custom fields, sometimes custom fields with formula, and helping me in my case, for example, understanding whether the desired feature may be reused for some other clients, whether some of these changes are leaning to my product strategy, and so on and so forth, in order helping me then prioritize my backlog accordingly. So let's go back to the example, right? And let's keep in mind what we just saw. We were talking about easy collection. In our case, the collection is delivered through the account manager, who has the simple task template. On the tab before approval is happening the intake, meaning that the business stakeholders are assessing the suitability of the account, and the rough estimates are providing the business information to communicate with the clients. When this is done, then comes the prioritization, where somebody who's overseeing the resources is actually managing what's going to be delivered in what order, and so forth. So that was use case about client modification, where we believe some principle for demand management is good to incorporate. Now, in our last case, we will have a look on mission critical process or job to be done, and it means client care and support. We dedicated to help desk or client service operations specific video, so we will go on top level what needs to be taken from that for the general work management. In service desk operations, we again work with some dashboard where we see a rich menu allowing us to organize the process step by step, see the performance, and making sure that the critical KPIs are met. In our case, it's typically SLA. So what do we see on this slide? We see a place where the typical inbound is managed, and different service desk operators are taking accountability for some cases. Important is that on some other parts of the system, we really see how some our critical measures are delivered or not. Service level agreement is typically about reaction times, response times, fix times. So we are using here help desk functionality, which allows to do so and bring interesting measures on top of the individuals or the whole team operations. Just another example of reporting related to this. What is important to take from this is that if you organize at your organization mission critical process, you may consider to support them with help desk functionalities and bring internal SLIs to your mission critical jobs. And that was also our last video in this introduction to work management in Easy Redmine. And now it's time for summary and conclusion. First conclusion is that organization truly needs formal communication channel for work which is designed for the work and project communication from the beginning. Projects, regular work, interdepartment or client demands, that all is great if they meet in one system, so all the work is in one place understood. That may bring clarity about the priorities and what is next for the people, and people really needs that and appreciate that. It is important to admit that in hybrid work style or full remote style, using project management and work management application also with logging time is new standard, because this is one of the few things which can bring visibility into the people's work, bring some comparison and so on. That being implemented, we have the feedback from client that it reduces the frustration of workers because their priorities and bandwidth is clear, and also through this specific working channel it creates professionals into how people are talking about the work and the way they cooperate. With this, I would like to thank you for your time for watching this video. I'm looking forward to see you on the next video, and Slavik is out. Bye.